Okay, I did the Empire Strikes Back video. It was longer than the Episode 4 A New Hope video. And so now I'm on Return of the Jedi with things I would likely have done differently. There are two acts, I guess, to Return of the Jedi. There's the rescue Han from Jabba and the rebel attack on the second Death Star. And I have a problem with each act that I think I want to talk about in the video. So the first act, rescuing Han from Jabba, my big problem with that act is that Luke's plan is really convoluted, like super unnecessarily convoluted. Like they, at the beginning, off screen, we haven't even seen it, Lando has already gotten himself a job at the palace as a guard, and he's already working there. Like, Jabba obviously travels. He does things like go on his sail barge. He is away from the palace now and then. Couldn't Lando have waited for one of those moments, waited for night time, and, you know, like when people are sleepy, off in their rooms, whatever, gotten Han out of the carbonite, given him a little bit of time to recover, and just like taken a speeder to a nearby spaceport where the Millennium Falcon is waiting. Like that. I don't know. Like, that feels like a much simpler way to address the issue. And instead of going the simple route with what they already had at play, they got the droids embedded there, carrying Luke's lightsaber so that it could be launched at him if need be. Okay. And after they get the droids embedded there, they send Leia in undercover, and she gains their trust supposedly by giving them Chewbacca. So now Jabba has Han, the droids, and Chewbacca. Chewbacca in a prison cell, and Han still frozen in carbonite. Like, so far, no parts of this plan have made progress toward getting Han out, and has actively diminished their situation, because now more people need to be rescued. like if you're gonna rob a bank, taking a bunch of your own money and putting it in there first, just so you can steal it as part of the process. Like, what? Yeah, anyway, so then Luke walks in, tries to use the Force, and suggestion, Obi-Wan's specialty, to get Jabba to release them without any violence. And yeah, sure, he had to give that a shot. And maybe he didn't guess that Jabba would try to kill him by dropping him in a Rancor pit. So I guess that part's unexpected. And if he had died to the Rancor, his friends would now be in rough shape, because Lando would still be their only real asset. Because also by this time, alright, I'll give them credit. Leia got him out of the carbonite, got Han out of the carbonite, and but now Leia's a prisoner and Han's a prisoner. I guess at least he's with Chewie. So by the time Luke gets thrown into the Rancor pit, pisses off Jabba more by killing the Rancor, Lando is still the only asset in place that can do anything useful, and now there are 5 more people for Lando to save. And sure, Luke's got a plan. There's still a droid, and I guess he was expecting Jabba to bring them out on a barge and try to execute them by having them jump into the Sarlacc, instead of just throwing Luke in a cell to see if there was somebody they could sell him back to, or just shoot him with a blaster while he's in his cell, right? Like, Luke was caught after the Rancor. You'd think that he would be trying more desperately to use the Force on other people that are not as strong-minded as Jabba, so he could get near R2, get his lightsaber, and start cutting people. Yeah, I don't... Like, did he have a Force vision that told him exactly how things were going to play out, except for the Rancor part? Yeah, anyway, so I guess it kind of worked. But was needlessly complicated, and yeah, I don't know. Alright, so I've already spent a lot of this drive talking about that, and so I'm just gonna say it was a fun chunk of story. I was engaged by it. Lucas is an amazing storyteller, but that plan was dumb, in my opinion. So I'm going to try and hurry through my last part, which I think I've mentioned in many other videos, where the Ewoks are dumb. The Ewoks are not a military force that would give any difficulty at all to the stormtroopers. Like, that the stormtroopers should have won easily. Like, why were any of them scared? The arrow, they show in the movie an arrow bouncing off a stormtrooper. And yeah, the traps seem to work, but those stretched my ability to accept them. When would they have set up that crazy multi-ton set of logs to crush the ATST, and how did they know it was going to walk through there? Do they just have about 200 of these traps sitting, waiting for an ATST to walk through that path? And that's the only trap that was reasonable. The rolling log trap made no sense at all. Partly because the ATST's legs started wobbling before it interacted with the logs, and then when it did, why were its legs wobbling? Couldn't it have just, stepped on the now not moving logs that bumped into its other leg? I don't know, maybe the logs were heavy enough to bend one of the legs to make it topple. But the whole wobbly thing was dumb. The rope trip line that they should have tied to trees could have been a reasonable trap, but it wasn't because Lucas went for humor. The pile of Ewoks being dragged behind the ATST. Yeah, Ewoks are not a credible threat to the stormtroopers, and it was just another case of Lucas making the stormtroopers seem like not a threat, because they couldn't take on teddy bears that were throwing rocks at them that weren't doing anything, and the stormtroopers are freaking out and panicking. It's dumb. And Lucas should have stayed with his original idea, which was to use Wookiees. But he desperately wanted a primitive species, and he already had Chewbacca, so he invented the Ewoks. And I think that was a mistake. He should have continued to use Wookiees and just made them a slave labor force, which is already part of his plan, because Han had gotten Chewbacca's friendship by rescuing him from Imperial slavery. Like, that was the thing. Yeah, so that would have been a really simple thing, and then we would have gotten to see Wookiees, really in their prime, right? The rebels get there, find them, and they're like, oh, if we can help each other out here. You guys help us take down the Imperials, which I think you want to do anyway, and we are more than happy to give you a ride off this rock after this battle. So here, we take your restraints off, and here's some weapons. We're gonna attack at this time. Let's do this thing. And then we really get to see Wookiees tear stormtroopers apart, and that would be freaking awesome. That would have been the awesome ground battle that would have mirrored the space battle that was tense, and that would have been so good. But that's not what we got. Even still, though, I'm going to point out that Return of the Jedi is probably still my favorite piece of Star Wars because it contains the best scene in all of Star Wars, which is the confrontation between Luke and Vader. There is no better Star Wars out there. In every way, from every angle, it's the best Star Wars. And of course, that's my opinion, and I'm saying that very assertively, but I am confident in that opinion. And, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for listening, and if you have thoughts related to what I said, I'd be happy to engage in the comments. See you next time.